Good morning and welcome, everyone. I'm Carol Ann, Marketing Manager here at Opus, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us for the Opus Thomson Reuters World Check Migration Update. Your speakers today are Francesca Bliss, Solution Architect, Customer and Third-Party Risk at Thomson Reuters, and our own Sandeep Bidet, Vice President of Product Strategy, Third-Party Management at Opus, who also happens to be the original architect of this integration. During the webinar, you can ask questions using the Q&A box in Zoom, or you can raise your hand and ask the question live if you prefer. For technical questions, you can reach out to me anytime in the chat window available on the Zoom toolbar. We'll send out a follow-up email with the slides and the recording post-event. With that, I'll turn it over to Sandeep.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sandeep Bidet. I'm going to walk you through a pretty tight agenda. I'm hoping that the main part of the presentation is done quickly so that you have sufficient time to ask any questions that you might have. If you feel that you have a question that can't wait, please don't hesitate to raise your hand, and I have no problem being interrupted, and I will answer your question as you pose it to us. So there's really no need to wait until the end either. So for this presentation, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the existing integration, what the upgrade to WorldCheck 1 means, what's in WorldCheck 1, and then discuss briefly what the combined platform, the Hiperos3PM plus WorldCheck 1 is going to look like. What impact that'll have to you. Mainly, I'm going to cover the benefits of the joint platform. And then I'll talk about the schedule, when this is actually going to be available for you in your test environment and in your production environment, and how we're going to roll this out. And then I will give you enough time for any questions that you might have. So the first part is just briefly discuss what the existing integration does. And obviously, everyone on the call today are using the Screening Online platform from Thomson Reuters. And we have integrated that into Hiperos3PM. We released it originally in Q4 of 2013. And essentially what it does is it's an out-of-the-box integration with Thomson Reuters, and it allows you to screen third-party names and names of principals against the Thomson Reuters database, retrieve matches. You do all your adjudication in Thomson Reuters, and then on a daily basis, we retrieve these updates back, and we also retrieve for all the third parties that are being monitored, which 100% of all third parties are monitored today, including all the principals. We retrieve any new results that come back based on Thomson Reuters updating their database on a periodic basis. The full extent of our integration actually extends to other capabilities, like being able to order enhanced due diligence reports from Thomson Reuters, being able to train third parties. Now, all of you don't use all of these features, but the extent of the integration is greater than just screening. But the part that we are going to talk about today, the part that is impacted by this upgrade is the screening part. A typical process that our customers that are using this joint platform have deployed has been depicted in this slide. Essentially, you have some mechanism to onboard a third party. You do some initial due diligence. You screen your third parties against Thomson Reuters, and there is a decision that needs to be made after reviewing the findings of the due diligence, and for which you would use either an external facing questionnaire that is sent out to the third party, or and you may do an internal questionnaire as well. You combine all of that information with screening results from Thomson Reuters, and you review those and you approve, deny, or you order additional due diligence, and you may choose to train. And then it moves on to the monitoring phase where Thomson Reuters continuously monitors these names, and our integration picks any additional matches and brings those back. So that's kind of a typical process. And the parts, again, that are impacted by this upgrade are around screening and monitoring. In terms of what is in WorldCheck 1, I think by now Thomson Reuters has also independently contacted you, and you have probably heard about it from other sources, but if you haven't, I'd like to give you a real brief overview of what the new WorldCheck 1 is and what it comprises of. So what Thomson Reuters has done is built a new platform and exposed a brand new API around that platform. The content itself is the same. It's the desktop platform that you use to mark matches, to actually screen your names and to mark the matches, do your false positive adjudication and assign risk to it, is completely brand new with a brand new user interface and much more user-friendly. They have exposed a lot of administrative capability to you, which you didn't have before in the Screening Online platform. And the new integration is going to integrate with that platform after the data has been migrated from the old platform to the new platform, because it needs to be migrated for it to work with the new desktop version of the application. And it uses new, improved matching technology. It has a lot many more features, specifically around being able to do secondary identifiers. And it has a lot of other capabilities that I'm going to cover as I go through my presentation. But overall, the combined platform actually allows you to screen, leverage the prefab Thomson Reuters integration, do due diligence questionnaires that are specific to you, to each client. You can maintain a single repository of all your due diligence. You can leverage screening resolution service that Thomson Reuters offers that some of you use. Or like many clients do, they do their own screening resolution from the Thomson Reuters platform directly. And obviously, it covers ongoing monitoring, and some customers rely presently on Thomson Reuters for some of the administrative aspects. And obviously, all of the administrative aspects you already have access to within Hiperos3PM. So that is the combined platform, and that's what you are able to do together with Hiperos3PM and Thomson Reuters. So now what's different? And I've tried to summarize that. I know this is a slightly busy slide, but I've tried to summarize it on one slide so that you get a sense for what is different and what is so much better with WorldCheck 1. And I think one of the biggest things is the ability to do secondary identifier matching. So the best example of that would be, let's say you were screening Walmart. Walmart is a big company, a lot of different locations. But if you were capturing country in your third-party record, and you wanted to use that to filter down the results so that you only wanted to look at the Walmart in Mexico, then you can do that. Today, you can't do that. What you have to do is just screen Walmart, and then you get all these hits, and then you got to go through each one of them to eliminate all the ones that are not in Mexico. Well, you can actually set that up now such that this is done for you by the integration. You can automate that by applying a country filter to your screening. I think it's going to be of huge value. It's going to reduce the number of hits you got to look at. Also, in addition to that, Thomson Reuters has an auto-resolve feature now. And by setting up the auto resolve feature, the Thomson Reuters platform can auto set certain of these matches based on the rules you've specified. They can auto resolve them as false. That's also, I think, going to save you a lot of time. It's going to be very convenient with this new integration. Like I explained before, the platform is completely new. The API is brand new. It's faster. It uses different technology. From an integration standpoint, we are going to bring back a lot more information than what you see today in Hiperos3PM. You see, I believe, 7 attributes from Thomson Reuters. Like you see the type of hit, the category, and pretty much that's it. I mean, you just get a link back into Thomson Reuters, but we're going to bring back a lot more information now, which will allow you to drive workflow within Hiperos3PM with a lot more information. But the one thing that has changed is that the numeric score that you get back, the match score, has changed. They have gone to a enumerated weak, medium, strong, and exact score. And so that's something that will be taken care of by the migration. There is also a use case where what we couldn't support until now, even though the platform supported it, the integration did not, was the ability to have different cohorts of third parties be screened using different thresholds. You couldn't set that up in the integration before, and now we'll be able to support that. Obviously, monitoring is supported with the added ability now in the improved integration to be able to turn off monitoring for third parties that you didn't want monitored. You have the option to do that now in the integration, which you didn't have before, and even in the platform, you couldn't selectively turn off monitoring, I don't think. And then previously, you were limited to screening the supplier records, the third-party records, as an organization. You had the ability to have the integration screen the principals as either an organization or a individual, but it required some configuration on our side, obviously. We have expanded that capability now in the new integration, where you can designate whether a name is an individual, an organization, or a vessel. If you don't specify any of those, then the API just searches without those designations, but with those designations, you can actually apply the secondary identifiers to them. So that's kind of in a nutshell some of the differences. So what does this mean to you? So I've tried to summarize some benefits from your standpoint, which will hopefully allow you to see how this is going to be better for you. So on the Thomson Reuters side, they have a new and improved matching algorithm with some fuzzy matching capabilities. And they enable you to control these settings as the admin user, right? Which they didn't allow before. You had to go to Thomson Reuters and ask them to change these dials for you. You don't have to do that anymore. There's obviously secondary identifier matching, and I've given you an example. I think one of the other things is for some of you who may be screening or maybe wanting to screen vessels, you can do that, and you can actually use this IMO number, which uniquely identifies a vessel, as a secondary identifier. Much richer content that we are bringing back into Hiperos3PM. And then along with the ability to auto-resolve and use all the secondary identifier features is really going to result in fewer false positives, lesser work for you from a resolution standpoint, and ultimately get you to resolve these matches faster. And obviously, greater control over what you monitor and from an ongoing screening standpoint. Overall, much greater configurability. And the other thing that's going to be, I think, better in the new integration is error notification and reporting. So one of the challenges that we are aware of that we have taken pains to address is that when we encounter an issue during the integration, either there is a high load on the API and it drops connection, or there is an error during screening. It was difficult to locate what the error was, be notified when the error happened, and we are going to improve that tremendously so that you will be notified. You'll actually have a place to go within Hiperos3PM to track any issues, and there'll be notification of that. And we'll actually make it such that if there is an error, you will have the ability to intervene right away and resolve that issue. We are also improving the way the API itself works. So there will be built-in retries so that if there are errors, we will retry until the point that it doesn't work programmatically, and then we will notify you, visually that something's gone wrong and you need to intervene. We'd also be able to support category-based risk rollups. So let's say you wanted to do a risk rollup just for PEPs. You'll be able to do that. Now you could do that before as well, and we're going to continue to support that. I don't know how many. I don't know if many customers actually leverage that capability. Some do, but not everyone does. But that's also going to be available. Now, hopefully all this makes a lot of sense to you, and you feel like this is going to be of value to you. So now I'm going to talk about when this is all going to be available. And I want to be clear that after we release it, that doesn't mean that all of your instances are going to get upgraded automatically. All this means is that the new integration will be available. Your existing one will continue to work until such time that you are switched over, you are migrated over. So even though we released this on the 20th of September in test and on the 13th of October in production, the migration itself will be done over a period of time. We will coordinate when you specifically, your instance gets migrated. We will work actively with your customer success manager to coordinate it on a specific date that's convenient to you over the ensuing 3 months. So we are hoping to get this done by the end of the year. And the other important thing to note is the data migration will only be done in your production instance, because that's where you're using the integration. The test instances can get migrated. The data itself won't be migrated. So what that means is if you have any names in test, they'll just be rescreened by the new API. While in production, all of your historical screens and any decisions you made will be left intact. They'll be migrated over and be available. Now, there are two ways you can receive an extract of all your screens before migration. Thomson Reuters can provide that, and we can provide that as well within Hiperos. And we will discuss that with you when we plan your migration. Now, what do you need to do to prepare for this upgrade? Really nothing at this point. Wait until you're contacted, and we can discuss in detail and answer any specific questions around your configuration at that time. And that concludes my presentation. I left enough time for questions. So if you have any for us, either me or Francesca, please feel free to ask. Carol Ann, are there any questions from the audience?
1 second, I'm going to give him. Hello, Rick. Hi, Rick, you have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah, I had a question about the slide about World Check One, whether or not adverse media was included.
that's a
Was
great
that
question.
intentional?
Sure. So adverse media presently is not included in World Check One. Now what is though included is adverse media from a financial crime standpoint will be included, but general adverse media, like Google-like adverse media, that is not yet included. And I have asked that question from Thomson Reuters, and Francesca can answer it in more detail, but I believe that their plan is to release general adverse media support in early 2019. Francesca, would you like to add anything to this?
Sure. So Sandeep is correct. We will add that adverse media piece in 2019, but to highlight just as part of the World Check data, adverse media is covered as related to financial crime, and that is one of the largest components of the World Check database. So a perfect example is if someone was just to commit murder, of course, we wouldn't have that included in World Check. But if it was murder for hire, or if someone had unfortunately murdered someone due to trying to get a life insurance policy paid out, then that would be included because it's a financial aspect. So if that makes sense.
Now, the only other thing, Rick, I would add is when we looked at our customers, we couldn't identify how many were actually relying on adverse media. It is a configurable option. Are you currently in your screening online integration relying on adverse media screening?
We are. We use it. We don't use it as much with respect to integration with 3PM. We normally look at those in the online screening website.
I see.
So the plus side is, since you're currently utilizing it within the website itself, then you'll still have the ability to utilize that additional adverse media piece within the user interface, because we do have a component called News Check that allows you to do that secondary check on the records that you want an expanded view on. And so in the training, once you're migrated, we'll make sure that we cover how you can utilize that expanded piece.
So that's a great point, Francesca, around training. I think one of the aspects of the migration will be, we'll have to coordinate it such that you are trained around the time you get migrated. Training you now perhaps won't be ideal. So we want to coordinate it such that you get trained around the time the data gets migrated, so that you are, properly aware of how the new system is going to work. I hope that answered your question, Rick.
Yes, thank you.
Caroline, any other questions?
Not right now, Sandeep.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, we can conclude the presentation.
All right. Thank you, everyone. As a reminder, if you have further questions, please reach out to your customer success manager. For more on Opus webinars, visit Opus events, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.